Hello students, the purpose of this video is to walk you through the types of questions you will see on the CASP assessment. So to follow along with me, please go to www.caaspp.org, and once you get to this website, you can click on Practice and Training Tests. Okay, then you'll click here on this green button to access the practice and training tests. Practice tests have about 30 questions attached to them. The training test has about 7 questions. The practice test gives you a variety of questions for you to see the type of content that will be tested. The training test is a good way for you to see the types of questions that will be asked, because this is not your traditional multiple choice type of test. So in this video, we're going to go through a training test. Now I'm going to go ahead and log in as a guest user, which is why these two are selected. If I wanted to log in using my state ID and my first name and then use the session ID number, then I would have to uncheck these first, fill in this information, and then click sign in. This tricycle back here tells me that I'm in the training test. This is not a real test that I'm taking. This is just a way for me to get some exposure to the kinds of questions I'll see on the real test. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and keep these checked and sign in as a guest. And I have to choose a grade level, so I'll go ahead and choose high school and then click yes. And I want to go through the training tests. If you wanted to try the practice test, those would be up here. But the training test is down here, and we're going to go through the ELA training test in this video. If you're a student with special needs, then on this page, your case manager would have selected different options for you to have access to during the test. A real common one is the text-to-speech option. So if this accommodation was given to you, then you'll see that on this page. Most of these, though, are accessible to all students. For example, the highlighter, the option of marking for review, those are accessible to all students. Go ahead and click select, and then here you can just verify that everything that was selected was correct. And if it is correct, go ahead and click yes. If it's not, you're going to click no. You do have to click the play button here in order for this option to highlight. So I need to do a sound and video check. So I click on the play button. I hear music. I see movement on my screen. So that tells me that my video and my sound are working properly. So I can go ahead and click I could play the video and sound. If it was not working properly, then I need to log out of my Chromebook and sign in and then adjust my volume. That's usually what the issue will be. Here, if I wanted an overview of my test to see what options or what the different features are within the test, I can go ahead and click on this. This is available to you on the day of the test, and it shows you what some of the features are on the test. You can go ahead and scroll through here and see what the different options are. When you get to this point, you're now looking at a different test. So you would only need to read up to about here. Okay, but this training video is going through this information anyway, so I can go ahead and just click begin test now. Okay, and then this particular page has a long passage, so if I scroll down, I can see that it's got a long passage. I could also use this over here to scroll. And on this side, I also see that I have 3 questions that I need to answer. If I wanted to expand this area for my reading, I could click on the double arrows here. That way I can read more comfortably. And if there were areas that I wanted to highlight, I could select some text, come over here to my context menu, and then highlight that selection. But that option will only become available to me once I've actually highlighted some text. Okay. Now, if I wanted to remove some highlighting, let's say I wanted to keep this, but I wanted to remove this highlight, then I can highlight this again. Let's come up to my context menu and then click Remove Highlight. If I wanted to remove all the highlighting, then I would come up to the context menu and click Reset Highlight. Okay, I'll use the double arrows so that I can see the questions. Each question has its own context menu. So in this context menu, I can look at a tutorial that will show me how to answer this type of question. If I answer the question but I'm not too sure about my answer, I can mark it for review. Because this assessment will not allow you to move on to the next page until you've answered all the questions on a page. So if you completely guessed on a particular question, you could also mark it for review and then come back to it later. The notepad allows you to take notes and save those notes for this particular question. So notes that you take up here, you click Save and Close. This is question 1. They will not be available to you in question 2. That's a separate notepad. And if there were certain answer choices that you knew for sure were not correct, you could click Strike Through and then actually click on answer choices that you want to eliminate. Now, as you look through the questions, you'll notice that some questions or some text has a little box around it. You can see it here, you can see it here. That means that if I click on these words, a glossary appears and it gives me a definition of what that word means. Sometimes it's words that are a little bit difficult to understand. Sometimes it's words that have more than one meaning. So clicking on the glossary allows you to understand what the author is trying to say, what the person who wrote this test is trying to say. So the box around the word is not too clear, but there is a light box around there if you pay attention to it. Questions that have answer choices with circles are like your basic multiple choice questions, where you can select only one answer, exactly one answer. Okay, here I could select exactly one answer. These types of questions are asking you to select sentences. And if I read the directions up here, it says that I need to select 3 sentences that best support this conclusion. So you can come through here and you can select your 3 sentences. Of course, you would read it all properly and give an educated response. But if I went through and I selected a 4th sentence, or let's say I selected only 2, but the question is asking for 3, the test will still allow me to move on. So you really do need to pay attention to what the question is asking. Also, let's say you were hovering over a sentence and it wasn't highlighting. So you're like, okay, I want to select this answer, but it's not letting me pick it. Then that's your hint that that is not the correct answer. Okay, there are other sentences that you can highlight, but if it's a sentence that you cannot select, then that definitely is not the answer. So read the question again. And then question number 3 is an example of a short answer response. You would actually click in this box here and type out your answer to question number 3 here. And the same options are available to you. You can look at the tutorial, mark the question for review, use the notepad, or if you highlighted something, you could click highlight selection. Now, in this case, let's say I wasn't ready to answer question number 3. I do have to type something in order to move on, and then I could actually mark this for review. So at the end, I remember to come back to question number 3. Okay, so now I can save and move on to my next question. Question number 4 is similar to the previous page, to the essay and question number 3. I would read the passage, and then if I wanted to, I could use the highlighter, the notepad, um, watch the tutorial, and then my response would come down here. I would save and then click next. Here I have to play and listen to the presentation, and then based on that presentation I would select my answers here. Again, you have a context menu for each question, and then and again, any words that have that light box around it can be selected, and you can read the glossary. Okay, let's save and then move on. And then the final question in this training test is actually a multiple response question where you can select multiple answer choices. Now, based on the question, it's asking for exactly 2 sources, so I can only select 2. The system will allow me to select only 1, or will allow me to select more than 2, but know that according to the question, the correct answer is only 2 answer choices. So please read the questions carefully. And again, just like with other questions that we've seen in this test, if it's got the light box around it, you can look at the words glossary, and you can click on the context menu for different options here. You would then save, and because this is the last question, once I saved, the end test option came up. So pausing a test, if I wanted to go to the restroom or something, I could pause the test for up to 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, the system will not allow me to go back to old questions. But if I return back to the test in less than 20 minutes, then I can review the question that I was on or any previous question that I've seen. Okay, now let's go ahead and end this test. It's saying, are you sure you want to end this test? Yes, I'm sure. On this page, I will see any questions that I have marked for review. So here I could click on question number 3, go back to it, review it, update my answer, save, and then now let's say if I'm ready to end my test, I click end test again. This is still checked off, but I remember that I already reviewed it. If I wanted to, I could have gone to my context menu and then said unmark for review, save, and then end test. And now I have no questions that I've marked for review. I can still go back to these questions and just check my answers again, but I feel comfortable now. I'm ready to submit my test. So I click on the submit test button. It's asking me, are you sure? I say yes. And now my test has been submitted and I'm completely done. So it's not until I say submit test and then click OK that I'm actually completely done with my test. If you have any questions about this, please talk to your teacher, or you can email me, Dr. Shaw, at julie.shaw@sausdlearns.net. Thank you and good luck on your test.